Good day, and welcome to this devotion. There's this ancient story of a son that deceived his blind father to get a blessing that the culture carries down from father to the older son. Of course, he was not the older son, and that is why he had to deceive his blind father to get the blessing. He goes so far as to dress in his brother's clothing so that the smell of his brother is on him. The older brother finds out and that what the younger brother had done and plans to murder him. And there are two things in the story that really make me sit up and take a serious look at myself. The first is that the story is being told, as the story unfolds and the story is being told, this blind father, he suspects something. And the storyteller says that the father feels the hands of the older brother but hears the voice of the younger brother, and the father is suspicious. And this really bugs me, because how many times in my life, and I'm hoping you're asking in our lives, do we live or we are a contradiction? We get upset with the way taxis drive but find ourselves breaking the same road laws. We teach our children to live in a very specific way but contradict the very lessons we teach our children, and this list goes on and on. And that is why, as Christians, we have a time of quiet reflection where we ponder our actions for the day and we talk to God. There's another thing about this story that gets my attention. The younger brother, by the way, the younger brother's name is Jacob, and you can read about this in Genesis 27. Jacob is not after the family's treasure. He's not after the riches. Jacob's father is a very rich man, but Jacob's not trying to get hold of the riches. Jacob wants to be touched by his father. Jacob wants to be spoken positively into his life by his father. Jacob sees more value in his father's kind words than he does in his father's riches. Jacob is willing to risk the wrath of his older brother just for a touch and a blessing from his father. You know, this story is about 3,700 years old, and yet that desire to be loved by our Father, to be loved, it still remains there. There's something within each of us, something within you and I. There's this desire for affection, this desire for affirmation from our Father. There is something within us that screams for love from our Father. One of Jesus' disciples, his name was John, and he's written this whole book on trying to explain the love that Jesus has for you and I. And in chapter 15, in verse 9, he writes these words, and he's quoting Jesus, and Jesus says in his book, "I've loved you the way my Father has loved me. Make yourselves at home in my love." Jesus loves you and I. No deceit, no con, no planning is needed to get that love. It's available to each of us through a relationship with Jesus. There is no doubting this love. And I'm hoping that when you read or when you hear this message, or even go and read John chapter 15, that this love that Jesus has to offer, that you will touch it and reach out to it, and it'll fulfill a deep desire within you for affection, for love. That this reaching out and this touching will be the Spirit of God touching your heart, healing your heart, showing you love like you've never seen before. And may this inspire you to look for love in no other place but in the love of Jesus. So may this day and this time be a blessing as you find love in a whole new way. Until we meet again, God bless.